There we go. Now it's being recorded.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we need to restate the role?
I think as long as we do it with the agenda, it should be fine.
Okay.
Or, like, maybe
Well,
check
the
it.
recording is just an extra, we've done the roll call, we could just continue to proceed,
Mhm.
it'll be reflected in the minutes accordingly.
Okay. All right, so again, I'm gonna ask, are there any changes to the agenda? No, okay, having none, in order to accept the agenda is in order?
I'll move that we accept the agenda as printed.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Manager Baki, roll call?
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Schottenmiller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. All right, on the consent agenda. I have two items. One is just a minor correction to the, let's see, October 9th meeting minutes. And it's on line 104. We could just knock out two several. And I'd like it to read most of the attendees who were all impressed by the district's accomplishments. So adding all between or after were, and then changing to several to most of the attendees. I made a point of going around and talking to as many as I could, and I think I probably only had maybe about 8 that I hadn't talked to, so I think that's important to make that clear. It wasn't just several, it was most. All right, thank you. Any objection? We'll do that one, and then the other one I had was on the last one, the Resiliency Project Development Grant. And I just wanted to know why we're not doing the signature on contracts like we always have. You know, with president or vice president signing. So is there some reason that we're not doing it that way?
This is, Madam President, managers, this is to submit for the grant application, since
Yeah.
it'll be exceeding the governance manual requirement of anything over 40,000, board has to approve
Yeah,
or authorize me to submit for the grant. It's
No.
just a submission, it's not the
No.
grant agreement.
that's not what it says on the recommended motion. It says, and to execute the grant agreements if awarded.
Okay, and that part, okay.
Okay. Is there a reason for that?
The board has gone both ways. I've signed a variety of contracts, because we're not, this is from a planning side. We're looking at something, they're capped at 50,000.
Mhm.
We wouldn't see it to be a significant, but it's aligned with a lot of the program work that we're intending to do, and
Mhm.
we've identified within our priorities, both in the watershed management plan and our
Mhm.
5-year
Yeah,
strategic planning piece, so.
yeah, I just think it's good protocol to have one of the board managers sign a document like this. So if there's no objection, I would like to cross out that and to execute the grant agreements if awarded. It would stay the way it is, that the president or vice president or treasurer, secretary, whoever's available would be able to sign. Okay, is that all right? All right, so we'll take off that section. And
Madam President, do we want to add then this, so then if we got something that's, or do we want to run it back as a separate motion when, if we were to receive a grant for approval?
oh, you mean to state that
At
the
this
president
time.
will sign?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I suppose.
Other officer.
Yeah, maybe reword that to just say upon acceptance. The president is authorized to sign. So we don't have to wait for the December meeting, that's what you're talking about, right?
Or whenever
Mhm.
the award would come in.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, very good. I'll make that change to that motion. without objection, if there's no objection, I will ask for a vote to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion that we accept the consent agenda as modified by Manager Anderson and those two changes that were made.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you very much. Roll call?
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Stottmüller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. All right, moving along, public hearing. Rule change, it says 9.0, what is that?
Madam President, this had to do with the fees, Mike Sandiger is here to go through the presentation and just discuss it as part of the
Oh,
the hearing, but I think we would need to open the hearing for the purposes of
okay.
protocol.
We will now have a public hearing on the proposed structure for our fees. And without objection. Are there any, we'll proceed, are there any citizens here that would like to address this issue?
Not that I'm seeing.
Okay, you don't see anybody on the?
No.
Okay, very good. I have one question. And this may have been answered before, but I don't remember. Why are we setting that extra fee at $4,500? That the applicant must reimburse the exceedance before the permit will issue. I don't understand why we're allowing it to get up to that high of a number. So maybe I'm not understanding that you will be taking excesses above the fee if it ends up being a bigger, more involved project. Mr. Sand, you answer
Manager
that?
Anderson, my Board of Managers, Tori, could you please open the presentation and go to, it might be the third slide?
Oh, yeah. Give me just a second.
Second. Third slide. yeah.
I'll begin while Tori is pulling up the exact slide.
Go ahead.
The idea of going to the flat rate is we're trying to average, set our flat rates at an average that truly represents the work. So we would expect some permits to be above and some to be below. Back one slide. So we would expect some permits to be ending up being below that average, some above. That 45,000 would be if our engineer or legal consultants bill us and exceed that fixed fee amount by 4,500, then the district would be reimbursed for those costs above and beyond. It really is just representing that idea that these proposed fees are an average. And we do have that part of the rules just as a fail-safe in case we have projects like in the past that far exceed the proposed fee amounts.
Mm-hmm. But that applies to any one of those box numbers though, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so,
In the past, we would have seen, where we've seen that large of excesses are Rule 2.0 stormwater management.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just curious why it's so large though. I mean, if you said if it's higher than $50, I might say, okay, but that just seems like an extraordinary amount to allow people to go over the stated fee.
The board will be voting on this proposed structure if the new rule revision is accepted.
Mhm.
So the board would be able to lower that fee amount beyond what was suggested by district staff and consultants. That number was picked as it aligns with our neighboring watershed district practices.
Okay,
Madam President, I can add some information here. So Rice Creek also has this failsafe, but it's at 9,000. And we were directed to look for a number that is consistent in the data, and the break point was that 4,500. So most of the cases did not reach and even close to that, but there were some that kind of outliers that exceeded that far
Mhm.
more than that number. So that's why we picked it, just from the statistical
Mhm.
break point.
And I understand that conversation, I do, but we don't have a healthy reserve. And so to allow that type of variance, I think is not a wise move for us. So that's my rationale.
Does it mean we won't get reimbursed? Or does it mean that we won't get reimbursed prior to the permit issuing? Cause it just says reimburse the exceedance prior to the permit. Does it mean that if they don't pay that, then we don't bill
If they exceeded by 4,500, we would not issue a permit until that exceedance was reimbursed. Without our permit, they would be unable to begin their project.
them? Right, but if it was 4,000. We could issue the permit, they still would owe us the money, yes? No.
No,
Oh,
no.
That's the trigger. That's what I'm saying,
Alright.
you know,
So the board will have an opportunity
Mhm.
to consider what that amount should be if they vote to accept the rule revision.
Okay, so we can do
After-
that.
Yep. It'd go, board votes on rule revision. If they vote to accept it, then the board would need to adopt a proposed structure after that rule revision
Mhm.
was voted on.
Okay. After we do an open hearing on it though?
No, the structure would not require a rule revision to be amended.
Okay. You agree with
Um,
that, Chuck? Chuck, do you agree with that?
Madam Chair, managers, yes, this is the public hearing for the rule change.
Mm-hmm.
The rule change just establishes the framework. It doesn't set the actual numbers. So
Okay.
you'll adopt the rule and then you would have the opportunity to adopt the fee schedule. There's no public hearing associated with adopting the fee schedule.
Okay. All right, very good. As there is no one here, Mike, did you have a presentation you wanted to give beyond this?
We'll just go forward one slide, please, Tori. Another slide, please. We've received comments from some of the organizations we were required to contact. Forest Lake was generally in support. They found some ambiguity in that 9.33. And then the Washington County has also provided comments earlier this week. Those would be provided to the board. Otherwise, the rest of the presentation was to inform any public members who are attending.
All right, well, seeing that there's no public, thank you for those answering those questions. I will declare the public hearing closed. And next item done is going to be the advisory committee updates.
President managers, believe Adrian agrees.
David is here, yes.
There it is. All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, managers. The notes from the Citizen Advisory Committee's meeting on Tuesday are in the board packet. We actually had a number of agenda items. We did a little bit of planning and goal setting for 2026. Blaine Einigner joined us to go over a couple projects. And then we also had a good discussion on the budget. We were lucky enough to have Manager Anderson and Manager Schmaltz present for that discussion, and I think it was pretty productive, kind of the capstone to the CAC's ongoing involvement in the budget discussion this year. So welcome to ask any questions, and the notes there are attached in the packet.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, are there any other updates?
President Anderson,
Yes.
I have a question for Aiden. Aiden, regarding the budget, is the Citizens Advisory Committee in favor of the levy increase that we have set at 23.7%?
I can't speak for all the members. I think they each individually have shown reservations and also understanding in different scenarios. I think that the consensus ultimately has been that, they were not super excited about that size of an increase, but largely were understanding. They did provide some feedback to Manager Anderson and Schmaltz about items like the public notice and wanting to be a little more transparent going forward. But lots of concern with the levy increase of that size. But we had a long discussion about it, and this has been one of many long discussions about it.
Yes,
Thank you.
I just want to add that one of the things that I brought to play, and I'll have it sent out to all of the managers here too, but it was something on NPR a couple of weeks ago. I heard it in the car, and it was talking about the state had aggregated all of the budgets that have been submitted, of course, and so the total was something like $9 billion statewide. And there was a discussion after that with the one of the leaders of the Council of Minnesota Counties. I might have that name backwards, but it was the county representative. And this individual was talking about don't get hung up on the percentages, especially when you're dealing with the smaller entities. Because, you can have a 200% increase because of, a fire truck or building or something like that, a big capital project that comes in. And he was cautioning not to get hung up, especially with entities like ours, where you've got a smaller basis. So what we've been talking about was reinforced with that audio. So I think you'll find that as interesting as I did and confirming as I did. And I think the CAC, most of the members of the CAC were accepting of that too. You want to add anything, Steve?
No, that's fine.
Okay, all right. All right, very good. Thank you. Let's move on. New business, WCD service agreement, Water Conservation District.
President Managers, again, Aiden Reed is up on these.
Yeah, nothing looked different to me. So anything new that I might have missed?
And President Managers, I'll point out the only change to this service agreement versus last year's is the rates for technical services that are included in Exhibit B. Otherwise, it will be the same service agreement.
How much did they go up?
I don't have the exact comparison handy. I'm looking at, it looks like maybe $7 or $8 an hour for all positions.
And what was the percentage increase?
Well, so it'll be, well, I can look that up here shortly. Just a moment. The percentage increases will be different by position, I would imagine, unless they did us the favor of raising everything evenly.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that, these positions, I haven't spoken to them specifically, but I imagine their rates are calculated in the same way that ours are, using agency calculators.
Mm-hmm.
How's your calculator doing?
Okay. They're not alarming to you.
They're not alarming to me. So looking at that, looking at the service rate schedule, I will tell you that the ones that we are billed most commonly are the specialist rates. In the 3-4 years that I've been responsible for reviewing these, I haven't noticed any administrator or manager expenditures. But typically what we'll see is a specialist 1 or 2. On occasion, we'll see a specialist 3, and usually, that would be an engineer. We don't typically use their engineering services.
Okay,
All right, so looking at last year, using specialist 1 as an example, last year we paid $87 an hour. This year we'll be paying $91 an hour, so a $4 increase.
sure. Okay, sounds good. We also have a cap, of course, not to exceed 20,000, so that's good. We do have a cap, and that's, I hope, what we budgeted for that service.
Yes.
All right. Who wants to make the motion? I will. I move to authorize the board president on advice of council to enter into the 2026 service agreement with Washington Conservation District and in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Manager Smalls. All right, roll call?
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Shopmuller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. All right, moving on, Chisago SWCD service agreement, same thing. Increase is about the same.
Thank you. So Chisago does it a little bit differently, and I will note that our SWCD expenditures for this year are $0. We spend much less with Chisago than we do Washington. They partner with us more on specific projects. We're about evenly resourced in terms of our residential services, and so we haven't actually enlisted their help this year in anything that was billable. And so they don't give us the rates the way that Washington does every year. That hasn't presented any issues. We've never even approached the budgeted amount. And so they just give us the lump sum to work with.
Okay. All right, any other questions? If not, the motion is in order.
I'll
I
move to
will make-
authorize. Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Steve. I'll make the motion to authorize the board president on advice of council to enter into the 2026 service agreement with the Chisago Soil and Water Conservation District and in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Manager Schottenhut. See? Yeah. I don't need it.
I know.
All right, roll call.
Yes.
All right, Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Shopmuller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. All right, next, Moody Lake Ag Practices Budget Amendment.
President again, Aiden, thank you.
All right. Managers, Madam President, the memo there includes a brief overview of why this budget transfer is being requested. We are planning on closing out this project in the next week or so with the ag practices and then with the signage as well towards the end of the year. So $25,000 transfer to bring this project to a close.
All right. Once again, any questions? Concerns? All right, a motion is in order.
I'll move to amend the 2025 budget for the account 5-221-B, Moody Lake Capstone Projects to $25,000 and then transfer $25,000 from account 000-3300 grants receivable to accounts 5-221-B.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Roll call?
Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Shopmuller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. All right, next item is the Minnesota paid leave law that was just implemented this year. And if somebody with knowledge can walk us through that.
Yes, Madam President, managers, so this is a new requirement going into effect in 2026, and so. I'll let Brad Drenberger, new business operations manager, he took the lead on doing the research on this, talking to the agencies and others, the insurance companies. He can walk through the memo and maybe describe some of the details of it. It's laid out, but there is a requirement that we get this for the board and approved prior to December 1st, right?
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Well, I'd like to understand it more, so I'm interested in what you have to say here. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam President, and managers, thank you. As you know, we're required to implement the new Minnesota paid leave, or also known as a paid family medical leave program. As of January 1st, 2026. This program, will cover our employees, with paid leave for medical or personal leave, under different circumstances. The program, will have a cost that will be required to be split between, the district and the employees. We did some research with our neighboring districts and, many of which are choosing to cover 100% of the cost. Some of the districts are choosing 80, some are choosing 90, but they've all been in that same ballpark figure. Our recommendation is to go with a 90% district, 10% employee split on those costs. And I've got them laid out in the document there. I can go through them in more detail, if you'd like me to. How the total amount is established is we are considered a small employer, because we have less than 30 employees on our payroll. That will officially come by mail in December in a letter from unemployment to actually make that an official call on us being a small business. The current cost for the annual premium cost as a small business for our organization would be $7,986. Which would be split out, if we go with the 90%, 10% split, would be a cost of $7,187.40 for the district. And $798.60 for the employees. In a corresponding move, after talking with Ken Carlson, our insurance business partner, this policy basically makes the short-term disability policy that we currently have redundant. So in a corresponding action, we'd like to discontinue the short-term disability program. Which also puts us in a situation, in order to cover the employees in the gap between what was currently 180 days for the long-term disability and the current Minnesota paid leave program. We would pay an extra fee to decrease the waiting period for long-term disability. To cover that period of time, that would bring it down to a 90-day waiting period for long-term disability insurance. So I've got those costs laid out there. So on the second page, if you take a look, the adjustments to short-term disability and long-term disability. It would be an $1,800 savings to discontinue the short-term disability policy that we currently have. The cost to make the adjustment to the long-term disability policy would be an extra $300 annually, which would overall be a $1,500 savings between the short-term and long-term disability policy itself. So further to go down, basically, The additional cost to the district associated with implementing the PFML program would be an additional $5,687.40. Annually for 2026.
And the only way to reduce that is to have the employees pay more.
That's correct.
Mhm.
I did do some calculations, prior to this, so I anticipated a couple of questions.
Mhm.
If we went with a 80-20 split, that would be a $6,374.40 cost to the district, $1,597 and $20 cost to the employees, which would be a decrease of $813 for the district. That and corresponding increase to the employees.
And that would be at what, 80-20?
That would be an 80-20 split. The law basically says we can ask the employees to pay up to 50% at a maximum. If we were to do that, that split would be $3,993 for the district, $3,993 for all employees combined. Which would be a $3,194.40 difference between the 90-10 split with the 50-50 split.
What happens to someone like, Emily, who's outstate?
Emily does still qualify for this because she's a Minnesota employee
Okay,
that is working on state. You have to work as a Minnesota employee at least half time.
okay. All right, board, so what do you think? 90-10? I mean, that's really the only decision to make because we're mandated to do this, so. Do you want to keep it at that 90-10 split?
I don't like the 90-10, but
Okay,
I don't like it because I feel like the people who pay the taxes are not getting 90-10.
everybody pays the tax.
No, it's me, the people who are paying the taxes who are working
Mm-hmm,
at their jobs,
mm-hmm,
aren't getting 90%. They just aren't, I know I'm not, and
Mhm.
I'm at a nonprofit, doesn't have to be the same as me,
Mhm.
we're 50-50.
mm-hmm.
And the district isn't flush with cash. So there's,
It's always the hammer hanging over us. Till it's cleared up, so. Well, Manager Baki, you wanna weigh in on this?
I'm in favor of the 90-10. I think that's fair. I think we're so far behind globally when it comes to paid family leave. It's a crime, I think, in this country that we're such a wealthy country and we can't allow our employees to have time off when they really need it. So I support the 90-10.
Okay. Manager Schmaltz,
I support it also. I think it's,
all right. Well, let's have a motion then.
I'll move to approve the policy adjustment for long-term disability from a 180-day elimination period to a 90-day elimination period effective January 1st, 2026.
Second?
So we're supposed to do the first two first, probably, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. I jumped ahead.
Well, didn't you do the first one?
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
So let me go back.
Yeah.
I'll do the whole thing. Move to approve the Minnesota Paid Family and Medical Leave Premium Contribution Split of 90%. Comfort Lake, Forest Lake Watershed District, 10% employee effective January 1st, 2026.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Manager Baki.
And the motion number two,
No, let's vote on each one.
okay.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, roll call.
Manager Baki. I'm sorry,
Aye.
Manager Schmaltz.
Aye.
Manager Baki.
Aye.
Sorry about
Twice.
that. Manager Schottmuller,
no,
President Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, motion number two, I move to cancel the current short-term disability policy effective January 1st, 2026.
I'll second that. Any
Uh,
further discussion? Okay,
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Shopmiller,
Aye.
or President Anderson.
aye. All right. Anyone else want to do 3? You're on a roll. Go ahead.
I can go again. Move to approve the policy adjustment for long-term disability from a 180-day elimination period to a 90-day elimination period effective January 1st, 2026.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Nand Baki.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Shopmiller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Next is the 5-year program and project plan.
First draft work plan,
Say that again?
staff work plan comes before the 5-year program.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, staff work plan, yeah. And this is just for 2026.
Correct.
Now, does this, can I ask a question first? Does this take into account, all of the projects, all of the items that we will be working on in 2026?
Those that are currently funded. So, I mean, if there are projects that, we will continue to use adaptive management. One, for example, is the Bone Lake South property. We'll wait until we are confirmation of that, but,
Mhm.
to make a full adjustment and some of the staff work changes. There's some anticipation in that, but I mean, certain other projects typically will we'll do the grant requests, so we don't, I mean, there's nothing right now that project wise that we would be working on. We have, we'll go out for bid on the Eighth Avenue one late winter. And not intending to start. That's.
Yeah.
So that should have it in there, yeah.
Okay, well, I have, oh, go ahead.
Are there more slides than what was shown in the YouTube presentation?
No, it's the same as the presentation itself.
Okay, I thought the presentation went very well. One thing I didn't see in there was a lot of detailed analysis of how the work is split out among people by area. So do we have that as a background of that presentation or?
It was attached to the memo.
The detail
I can.
is all the breakout, and I don't know. Victoria, if you could pull out some of that, you can pull up
Pull it up.
the document itself. And it'll,
Not that I want to get into all the detail, but I'd like to see the work that went into it. And I think it would be more effective for the public to see that if they had to, besides just the general presentation. I just want to make sure we don't lose
Yep.
that effort.
the
Okay.
full breakout, I mean, it's pretty, it has continued to expand. My initial presentation of the board years ago was just the spreadsheet. And Emily has continued with other staff support, added all this level of detail. Both in terms of like what the program is,
Okay.
but also what
Yeah, that's
the pie chart of the,
looking for,
and then the
yeah.
spreadsheets by month, by task, and then by position. So,
We can wait, and do this in December if people need more time to look at it.
No, I think it's a good
Yeah.
principle we've been following a long time, and we actually started with our staffing decision with the work plan, right?
Yep.
From the consultant,
Mhm.
and I think it adds a lot of credibility to the work that we do when we put together our plans, and I just didn't want to see it migrate to just a 5-slide presentation in very general
No.
terms, which anybody can do.
No,
opposed to a backup that shows that there was a lot of thought put into this, at
Mhm.
least. A lot of employees thought about whether they were gonna spend their time, which is important, I think, and that also helps set objectives for the employees then too.
Yeah.
That detail, so.
no, the purpose of it is without question, it's just the details of it. So if people feel they need more time, to study that, I have a couple of items I wanna talk about. In the Comfort Lake area, that I didn't see on the list. But if you have things that you want to study a little bit more, we have one more meeting. That gives you that time. I mean, getting it on Thursday or Friday or whenever, sometime over the weekend, to go through this much material, because it's detailed, is asking a lot.
Especially when you can't access the website.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's the only point in maybe delaying the vote until next month, and then it's still before the end of the year. And it gives people a chance to study it a little bit closer. That's,
Well, we all know that, 2 months from now, there'll be some changes in it, because you have to adapt to what the
Of course.
situation is, so. Well, whether you vote on it now, you're not voting on the same thing you'll see 2 months from now, so it doesn't make a lot of difference, as long as the thought process continues forward to adjust to things that have to be adjusted for.
you've obviously never had a project that you were hoping was going to make it that year, and it kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. But there's two obvious ones that I wanna talk about. Okay, so, and that's the point of giving us an extra month, but, those weeks are important, because you've got, just that many more weekends. You don't have to take up every minute of every day. So I'm kind of leaning that way, but, if I may, are there any questions that you have, Mr. Baki?
Yes, President Anderson, I would appreciate that we delay the vote till the December meeting. I guess, but I would like to understand a little bit more. There's a workout plan breakout by position. And like Steve was saying, it's just general concepts are listed there, and it's really hard to know what goes under that. If we could get a little more detail, such as the next page, which shows an organizational structure to be determined, the work plan detail appendix. Yeah, it'd be just nice to have a little more information about the work plan. I think it's a great plan that looks good on paper right now. And as Steve mentioned, we know things are going to change, but for the general public and for the managers, it'd be nice to have a little bit more detail as to what each position will be handling, on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not so worried about the day-to-day stuff, but the general skill sets that each employee has are aligned with, the work that they're assigned to. So I understand your concern. That's not a big issue to me, of that particular thing. Because I trust that the people managing all of this are assigning people in the right place. But if not, of course, there's always adaptiveness. Every plan, business, nonprofit, doesn't matter, school, everybody's got a plan that they expect to follow, and then things change and you have to make adjustments, so. But I think it's a good point, and obviously, that's a need also, to just have a little bit more time to look through everything and write down some further deeper questions. So thank you for that input. Senator Schottenmiller, what about you?
Yeah, I'd like to see, I mean, this is a lot of detail, so I don't wanna say that it doesn't have the detail. But I'd like to see it, maybe like in a RACI, with the RACI chart. Where you identify who's really doing the work, who's responsible for it, who's accountable for it. All the different pieces to that. Because at the end of the day, somebody is gonna be responsible to do this and then make sure it gets done. And so it's just something to consider, especially with the fact that everybody's kind of touching a lot of different pieces. Those complicated types of projects, team-oriented projects work well with that kind of chart. And then based on the conversations I've had with the team members here, I'm concerned that we were at 8.3 full-time folks in 2020. We now have every lake but one delisted, and then we're gonna put more people, up to 11.5 for our future FTE, which seems like we're growing, but our need is maybe shrinking a little. So, but this is again, maybe potentially a naive opinion, I'm new to this,
Yeah.
so.
Well, there's more than just getting the lakes clean. The biggest one, the project that we've ever done, honestly, is this district-wide green corridor and climate change. Mostly it's flood control. There's a lot of areas that flood out, and those are all interconnected, so that's called a district-wide project, and it's huge. So that could be some of it, but I thought we were at 11 employees. The maximum that our study from years ago indicated that we would be at 11.5, but I think we're at 10, aren't we?
You know, we're currently
Or 11?
yes,
Okay.
with the
All right.
future conservation for staff person
Mhm.
that comes to us. That salary is covered by
Yeah,
NPCA, but yeah, the study was completed in 2019, as we were as a sort of a preparatory piece
Mhm.
to the development of an updated watershed management plan, and that was the recommendation for Houston Engineering to complete all the work that was forecasted. So, while it has been an ongoing question I have for our citizen advisory committee too, since even the early August budget meeting was the obvious thing is staff in terms of carrying out programs. So which program we would like to see cut or reduced or eliminated. And it's been continually the response is like, well, I see your point, nobody wants to have AIS cut.
Mhm.
The permitting is required by statute. The cost share piece has been instrumental. It's the last frontier, if you will, for impacts on Forest Lake from that standpoint. And it's still very much true, my job is to put myself out of work. So, but until we complete the education and getting people to understand the impacts, that programming and things like that, it could all be delayed or offset or pushed back or eliminated. It's really, again, up to the board and the community. We're offering a plan based off of what the budget is set for, and so that budget. And now I will note that I did ask our new Bowser rep that has been around for 20-some years. Cause he's now assigned temporarily here. I forwarded this to him and I asked him if anybody else does this level of work plan detail that he's aware of, and he says, I'm not aware of anyone that does this level. We go through a very deliberate process. How much is budgeted for each area? How many hours is it by staff? I also look at, and that's where the pie chart kind of comes in, and we've been going through it this week, and we do it, so just on everyone's quarterly reviews, we review them again, we look at job descriptions, we look at tasks completed, and one of the outcomes is starting to just plan ahead is, okay, say for monitoring, so we've scaled that back pretty significantly this year for 2026. However, there's always the next man up sort of mentality that needs to be in place, and so I have some staff be involved with it peripherally to support if somebody's gone, but also if somebody leaves, or worst case, we have the tragedy with our neighboring county staff person that has unexpectedly passed away. Those kind of things do happen, and just trying to plan for it. So, I mean, there's a lot of detail, you know, so it's not necessarily, you know, you have to go back to the budget piece to look at certain tasks. They get rolled up into each line item, and then that's added. And then we could go into that much more detail but I think it's, you know, staff have their marching orders, we review. Then there's also the timesheets for them to, look back against, and there's, you know, so it's. I feel between the budget, ongoing, regular weekly meetings that we have. Monday, we start off Monday mornings, full staff meeting. We have a senior staff meeting later in the week to review. Staff are also giving feedback individually, short summaries of bulleted information about what's being accomplished. So I feel pretty confident that the work is being done, and there's a lot of thought given to that, but I'm very much open to the years or maybe decades of experience that you've offered, Sean Wheeler there, so manager, in this area, to how to still improve. And so that's one of the things that we continue to look forward to is still watching and looking at other entities, ways that we can improve our organization. So.
Yeah, and I think, Jim, you're just coming in at this point in time, but as Manager Anderson said, as you look at the perspective of the previous 10-year plan, it was very heavily focused on water quality, and you saw the results that we drove out of that. And of course, what you're hearing now, a lot of is what we've accomplished in the past, which is water quality.
Sure.
But we're shifting now, we're shifting to flood management and the green space program, and water quality will be part of those programs, but not always a direct effort, except maybe for the Comfort Lake area where we're still finishing up there. But otherwise, we're gonna pick stuff as we go along, as an opportunity presents itself, that'll contribute to the water quality and continued protection and improvement. And then the other big thing is that we've tried for a number of years to improve Mike's span of control. You know, so when we started out, we had one employee, and for a number of years, Mike had, you know, a lot of people reporting to him, too many matter of fact. So we've tried to solve that problem at least one time before, and it didn't go very well. So now we're in a situation where we're trying to improve the span of control, reduce that span of control. And that'll bring a lot more efficiency to the operation, I think, if we can do that. So those are the two big things that I see that are different.
Okay, so to me, right? Everybody's talked. Got it on the table. So, okay, Manager Baki, go ahead.
Thank you, President Anderson. I want to repeat myself, going back to when I first came on this board. My experience working with school boards was that the school board was involved with governance, and the administrator was involved with the operations of the organization. And I'm learning that this watershed district operates a little bit differently. And I don't want us to get too deep into the operations part of what's happening on a day-to-day basis. I think our role is very clear to be, as governance, be looking at the budget and making sure that those goals are aligning with the work that's being done. But the day-to-day operations, I don't want to confuse anybody by thinking that's what I want to know or see more of. I hope that's clear. And I know, President Anderson, you and I've had conversations about this, but I think we don't want to get too involved with the day-to-day stuff.
No, but we have a responsibility to understand what's going on and to provide input as the citizen representatives of that, but not micromanage, but macro manage. And so that's really where the focus has to be.
Well put.
There has to be oversight. And I think that's the other thing too, is making sure what we think is happening is actually happening. That's just good governance and making sure that our citizens are getting what they expect. And so far, the majority of people have been pleased with that, so that's a good sign. There's always gonna be some negativity in anything that you do. But fortunately, we haven't had much of that. We do have a money issue, but you know, we're working on that and we can't beat that anymore. It's over with and we need to move forward and still get work done because Chisago County needs it. Things aren't done up there, so we wanna, and they're close, a couple of years close, but we need to have that attention. Let me get back to what I wanted to bring up, and if we delay this decision until next month, which I agree with as well. We've got time to work this out, but I've been talking to you, Mike, in particular, but at board meetings too, about doing the second phase of the AIS work with CARP in Comfort Lake and Little Comfort. They're connected. So just as we did with all of our other major water sub watersheds, we took the time to investigate where those carp are reproducing and what the flow is. The Lake Association received a county grant so that we did phase 1, which is the count. And I think that was provided to the public in January or February of this year. So we're ready to do that second phase and the I think it was WBS. It did that. What was it? I have it backwards, WBS. WSB, okay. They did a quote for that second piece, which was about 60,000. Which was close to what the others, yours was more in Forest Lake, of course, but that's about the same as the others. There are grant dollars for AIS, including with the Lower St. Croix, WBIF. So that is a doable thing that we could add to the 2026 work plan, which I did not see. I didn't see that reference. There's also a red star on the map that shows a pond, apparently, that's being discussed for Comfort Lake. And it's right on East Comfort Drive. I'm not aware of that. And so I'd like to understand more about that. There are some other areas along Comfort that I think would be good as well for that purpose. So that's it. The other thing I didn't see was any reference to the shallow pond gift that we're receiving. And what's to happen there. And so that a lot of the work in that area is part of the flood plain report and plan. So a lot of that's going to be taken care of in that respect. But there are these specific things that I was not either aware of or I didn't see in the work plan. And that's pretty much it, but I would appreciate the extra time to look at it as Manager Baki indicated and move this to December for a vote.
Motion to table, right?
I don't think we need a motion to table if a motion hasn't been made yet.
No,
Okay.
Chuck, you can weigh in on how to do this properly.
No
I'm
motion is
taking-
necessary.
Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. President Anderson, no, a motion is not necessary. It can simply be deferred.
Simply declare it.
It can just be deferred to next month. Yeah.
All right. So without objection, we will defer the action on this draft work plan for 2026 until December meeting. Okay. Well, let's move on. 5-year program and project plan.
President Managers, yes, first off, I'd like to just want to thank Emily for putting together, kind of the bulk of the documents, but also doing the presentations. I thought they were going very well done. Yes. So This 5-year program and project plan is, and there was some discussion with it. But after the completion of the strategic planning piece, I started. So that was adopted, I think, in July, then I started asking staff to start working on the development of this. We're familiar with like a 5-year road plan for a lot of entities, or some do capital improvement plans, things like that. So this was an attempt to develop, this first version of this. We'll be leaving some of this information. We will go through an audit with Bowser in February and March, or in 10 years, we go through that. So this is again, a good summation of this. And again, it's, you know, both numeric, alphanumeric, to align with the district's watershed management plan, but also color coded to align with the strategic plan. And this is again, both to inform the board and the general public as a whole as to where we see ourselves moving into the next 5 years, and this would be updated annually. So this would give the board, and again, the members of the public, some idea as to how, or especially as staff, where we see, based on both the funding direction from the board, but also then where we see opportunity going into the future to address those needs based on those same elements, funding and direction. So I guess this is, again, there's not necessarily looking for an action on it, but just really a draft plan for the board to at least respond to and see if there's any thoughts or feedback on this.
This is the first time we've done this for the 5-year.
In this, yes.
It's a lot of stuff that's on the to-do list. That's amazing.
Yeah, but it all fits together. I mean, you have to do a lot of pieces to make something happen, so.
Don't take that as a negative.
No, I know.
That's wow. So, I mean, it's like 5 pages double-sided of,
Oh, you're talking about that plan there. We're talking about the presentation that was,
oh, okay.
the
I thought
project presentation.
this was
No,
talking to this.
No. This,
Yeah.
It is.
it is, the same one. I thought we moved over to what Emily did with the project plan.
Right, that's where we're at.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a copy of it, I'm sure. I must have the old, okay, I've got the other one in my hand, so.
You make that. You want to print a copy?
I'll get a copy later on, yeah. I looked at the presentation and that's what I'm.
Got it. Okay. Mhm.
So, sorry for the confusion.
Okay.
Yeah, 27 pages.
Yeah, the thing is, let me say the opposite thing. I think the presentation, it was like nine minutes. And if I look at the timing on the thing and why I went through that, I'm thinking, wow, this would be great to show to the Forest Lake Lake Association board. You know, and I think just to give them an idea of the scope of what we're working on, and that's not as complicated as 27 pages. But they know, they're familiar with a lot of the stuff, and it brings a lot of thoughts together into one thought of how we operate, what we're doing, and where we're going. And it tends to build confidence in the organization that can put that together and implement it, because they know we've implemented it in the past. So I think Emily did a very good job on this one in particular, and I thought that it'd be nice to try it out. I'm gonna try, if everybody agrees, I'll try it out on the Lake Association board. Shake 10 minutes at our next meeting and have everybody look through it. I mean, watch it, see what the reaction is. But I think it would, with some changes, it would be good for the public to see too. But I don't know, we'll have to talk about that.
Right.
Good step in the right direction, I thought.
Well, and that's, I mean, this is really just putting it onto paper, really. So this is kind of where, and I have looked, you know, for my corporate finance class years ago, I remember just one of the core elements is like every 5 years, an organization or company should be very different in 5 years from where it is today. So I always challenge staff that the same way. So we should, you know, we should look different today than we did 5 years ago, and we should be looking forward and being very different again in 5 years to the future. Not that they're gonna make changes to make change, but just through adaptive management, the things that are going on, just through the two, a couple of 5-year cycles or so that I've already been through, the organization has changed dramatically, both in terms of staff capacity, workload, certainly the amount of dollars that have been brought into the community, and the associated accomplishments with that. So, but there's still, obvious areas that we can improve upon, and some of the things that I've tasked staff to work on or challenge them with, because that's always one of the key things for me is, through our SMART goal process is to challenge staff into expanding and improving and maybe trying to exceed their own expectation for themselves even at times. But, so why the water quality thing seems to be maybe somewhat behind us. But the Shields Lake is a good example of, we had done some diagnostic work. But we did some grab samples last year. There's a fairly heavy load coming into Shields Lake right now that we do not understand where it's coming from. I guess in my opinion, we should be spending the money to do the diagnostic monitoring there because it has an impact on Forest Lake. Also, it could undo all the benefit that we did with the alum treatment. So we're continuing to do at least some grab samples from at the staff level. But that probably should be a more aggressive effort, but we just don't have the budget for it. We're trying to work through the Bowser piece to help get those kind of things funded in terms of an assessment component of it. But when we look at the district wide, and I'm pointing at the map here for the board members that are out there, we have some 27 or 28 miles of ditches and channels and streams, and there's hundreds and hundreds of different places where we could do sampling to try to work through all of this, and that's where again, even on the wetlands, given the sheer complexity and again, hundreds of different wetland sites individually, and then such a large percentage of the landscape, we need to work through what those most important sites are and be able to eliminate them, but not do all of them, and identify that. So it's new ground within the area of watershed management that we're trying to do. The green belt concept is new to the watershed world. And again, the Comfort Lake Forest Lake District is looking to lead that effort. So, but this is, I think, a structure that's going to help. One, it provides continuity, it provides, also, with approval from the board, then this gives staff direction to know what they're supposed to be working on as well. So.
Yeah, I think that's important, but you're talking about change all the time, and I think that can have many, many connotations. And in an environment like this, scientific environment where you've got so much, footage that you are responsible for, and just so much water. I tend to think that our focus should be on excellence, because there's only so many miles that we have, and only so many water bodies, and only so much of a standard that we can attain. We can't get back to purity, before white settlers came in, but we can get close to it and make sure that the lakes are sustainable. And that's really what our mission has been. So I just want to make sure that employees don't get the sense that they have to constantly be looking for new things to do. Maybe it is just doing what you're doing better. And I think that's the point that you were making, is that always strive for excellence. And if you do that, then the rest comes with it. Find a better way to do it, find a more innovative way to do it. So I think we've been good at that. And again, I think it's mostly for the employees that I'm saying this, because we wouldn't have them if they weren't doing a good job. Time is precious, and money is even more precious. So you don't wanna waste either one of them, so. Anyway, what I wanted to, add here is that you brought up the floodplain, green space, initiatives that we've got going on now. When Washington County was here, Fran Miron, the commissioner, he brought 3 employees with him. One young man was an engineer. And he said it to me, I'm not sure if he mentioned it to you guys too, but hopefully. He is very interested in that project. And they have money that they would like to join us with, and I'm sure that it's, counties typically get block grants for infrastructure, and so they can spend that however they want to, and they're very, very interested in it, so Mike, I think, and Ann, you too, need to reach out to Washington County and find out how much of a partner they want to be. That would be helpful.
That project, are you talking about Shields Lake or we shifted to floodplain?
I think it can be Shields Lake too.
Okay.
Why not?
Oh, well, Shields Lake, I think we had it under control, and so one of the first steps in problem solving is to look closely at what's changed from the scientific end. And we're talking about diagnostic outside, how do we know that the bottom of the lake hasn't changed? And that's where the problem is to begin with. Have we looked at the alum treatment?
It's the water coming into the lake.
Are you sure about that? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's what you have to do, eliminate. And then, the rainfall's changed, a lot's changed, so we should be able to. And maybe we just gotta look for some more old dairy cow places, I don't know.
But that's why we wanna,
Right, I have a gut feeling
we've already
about it, but-
done this once. If we can work with Washington County, see what kind of program they have. And then maybe when we have to go back and redo something, we can tap into them too.
I suspect in that case, on the west side of Shields Lake. It was developed before there were any stormwater rules or requirements, right? So there's a couple of wetland complexes. And wetlands will be, they refer to as a nutrient sink, it'll continue to fill in until there's no more capacity, and then it becomes a source. So those of you visually look at them, there's no more space for them for any more sediment.
That's what happened to Shallow Pond years ago.
But it's currently a sink, and we don't want that either.
It was. That's good. Good point. But anyway, so that, speaking of Shallow Pond, that was the other thing on my list was, where is Shallow Pond? And we haven't made an announcement, I don't think, to the public, at least not that I've seen.
No, only that the board has made a motion to accept that for them, so it'll be part, that would come in under the green belt with our SAMs, so,
Mhm.
because there's, right now, given our limited levy funds, they have agreed to wait until after July 1st when we get those dollars. And then all the real estate survey work, EUR will need to do an environmental assessment, all those expenses. Which will be, I don't know, maybe 15,000 or something, but that'll come out of the grant,
Sure.
and then it'll count towards the total
Okay.
number of acres.
So we're still in that transition period.
Correct,
Okay.
so that we're
Yeah. And then
communicating with them and they're excited. to make the payment.
And this is my final point, is that, many years ago, a farmer approached us by Shallow Pond, off of Highway 61. And wanted to sell us, I think it was 20 acres of wetland
Yes.
area. It's close to the sunrise,
Yes,
so it has value for us, always had value. And, I think the price is about the same as it was then. So 100,000 for 20 acres near the Sunrise River. So let's make sure that gets on a 2026 plan too.
it is.
Yeah,
I've
Okay.
been communicating with them.
okay, I didn't see it, so. All right, well, this is why in another few weeks of looking at it more closely. You say it's there, I'll find it.
Well,
So come out and look at our Forest Lake area. We'll work when we work in our area.
So
And
that,
to find a lot of new things.
Madam President, I'll just note the manager, so I mean, there's, so. So I'm very capable of doing, I think, what you're suggesting, and that's, and I was telling Brad that in prior years. I had done like a 1 to 2 page summary for every line and breakout of everything, but. When I first started some years ago, one of my first budgets here, Manager Small said, that's too much information, just do the spreadsheet, and so that's where I held it to. Because also just to, I guess, reflect back to Manager Baki's statement in terms of governance versus the sort of detailed element of it. So we're capable of putting those things together, but right now, both the shallow pond and that other wetland complex would just be under the flood resiliency work. It's not gonna be specifically named out there. But it would be, in.
I don't care how it gets there. Just that it gets there.
Right, so in.
It's a long time waiting.
It would be in other documents related to those initiatives, but we don't have it in. Those level of details in this.
Mhm.
So, but
Okay.
it's just like we have a monitoring plan that says. Which lakes we're gonna do at what frequencies and what kind of things.
Mhm.
That's not in here for the board to see, but it has management. And then you provide so much dollars, which translates into so many hours and
Mhm.
expenses based off of. The known expenses, so those, that's how this is laid out. With
Okay,
the work plan in this document.
all right. Staff requests board consensus on the plan. Why don't we wait until December, so it goes hand in hand with the project outline, okay? So we'll just, move this to December for final action. Old business, Minnesota
President
watershed.
Anderson,
Yes,
I'd just like to comment that our time spent in strategic planning was a good investment. I really see an alignment here from our 10-year plan to this 5-year work plan to the actual work plan. There is a consistency there of goals and outcomes and measurement, and I think that was time really well spent. So I just want to remind the board, we spent a lot of time in strategic planning, and going into it, we weren't so sure it was worth our time, but I think it was.
okay. Thank you. Next is Minnesota Watersheds Conference.
Madam President, managers, just again that, there's the packet of information for the board, for those that are, want to review it. There will be, again, even though presently 2 managers coming, there's the opportunity to attend a 1-day or such. It's also, the possibility, when I drafted this memo was such that we intend our, both the program of the year, finalist of program of the year and the project of the year. So we're. Hopefully, we would have, I guess. I was hoping that I would have heard something by now, so maybe that's dimming somewhat. But just just letting the managers know that that's still out there. And also just, Madam President, I sent you an email this morning about. A request to explain more about the resolution at the business meeting.
Yeah.
So,
I responded, did you see that?
yes,
Okay.
that's this. The managers know,
Mhm.
no action.
Okay. Next, is alum treatment scope of work.
And president managers, yeah, before us here memo, from EOR describing some additional, work, or I guess, additional work that was completed, and then some change in the funding, this is all gonna be grant funded. Yet, so, we're fortunate from that we came in under budget overall. And so if there's any other questions, Dr. Wilkinson can answer those.
Do you have something you want to say about it?
Sure,
Go ahead.
so there was additional funding available because the alum treatments were under budget.
Mhm.
And so we were requested to do some additional outreach, which I thought was very successful. And then we also have the opportunity as part of that to update the Forest Lake model with the alum treatment to a new version of bathtub, which the MPCA has provided, and it's more streamlined and allows for more precise loading calculations, particularly for internal loading, so it's a good opportunity to update that model to that
Nice.
format.
Wonderful. Sounds like a while.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, next up are the report.
There's a motion on this today.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. An additional $6,000, bringing the total to 56,360. Anybody want to make that motion? If not, I'll make it. I move to authorize the board president on advice of council to approve and process the EOR Forest Lake alum treatment statement of work number 3 and in an amount not to exceed $6,000. Second, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions?
So is this extra for 6,000 that we're spending that we haven't, that wasn't in the budget, or? Well, I thought you said you were under budget, so I'm a little confused about why we have to put 6,000 out there.
Under budget and the overall grant cost, so the project, right, so that we had a more favorable bid on the alum.
Okay,
And so then there was an opportunity to do some additional, since we knew we had grant dollars within the budget to do these 2 additional things. So we wanted us to do more engagement, because there was an interest in doing that. We did one a couple of years ago with the boat launch, and then we did one at the community center, and then also update that bathtub model, which is pretty typical of what you would do it, for that, in part because we're not, I mean, we'll just continue to monitor to see how things are going, but at some point there like could be something that we would want.
Did we talk about this before? It seems familiar to me, so. It's not the first time I've seen that we had a $6,000 balance. What's that?
I'm not sure
Okay,
about that.
well, anyway, might put a different project, but yeah, I think it's not coming out of our levy money, so.
President
We had
Anderson,
it
Uh,
budgeted.
yes, go ahead.
so just for clarification, so this is being paid with grant money, and if we don't use the grant money, the money goes back to the grant, it doesn't go back into our budget, is that correct?
That's correct.
And this money will be used for outreach, is that what I'm hearing? And what way will this outreach be conducted?
Madam President, managers, so, it was I guess an adaptive management component where, the final tally in terms of the cost of the treatment when it came in was such, the timing was that, there was none in the board meeting and the treatment was going to occur. So we knew that we had that within that piece. This is within the range of my understanding of the overage that the administrator was authorized within the original scope. And so this was something then that we just discussed. It's really, I would say, a shifting of dollars from the alum itself treatment to engineering services. So.
But it's money as part
It's
of.
already.
Yeah.
It's already completed, man, Baki.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay, next,
We need to.
We have to vote.
oh, I'm sorry,
All right, Manager Schwab,
welcome.
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Shopmuller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye.
I almost said Taves and then I like was trying to catch up and.
Motion carries. Moving on. Report of staff, administrator.
Madam President, managers, we have a new photo there for our wall of shame in terms of shoreline activity.
Kidding.
And kind of, really concerning the amount of, that this is becoming, a fairly common practice where actually contractor will come in and just completely reshape the lot. That's something we had not seen prior, or I've never seen before, and then the last couple of years, we've seen several examples of this. So
Do they get permits? For that?
they receive a permit from the district, but not to do that level of work, but both in, I know, like Sandiger is still online here, but we did clarify both the DNR and the city and said, no violations. So,
Where do we come in? I mean, honestly,
well, we would have,
we've got all these nice words packed in these nice little, rules that are supposed to be enforced.
so the district does, have a permit, and then that, or the entity would have a permit. And there would have been erosion control, in the appropriate locations to meet the requirement of the construction. But ultimately, when they're doing the final, sodding, they need to remove that material and just lay the sod. But, the shoreline ordinance really should be kicking in here,
Mhm.
but it's not. So, but we don't have control over that.
Okay.
Is that one on North Shore Trail that I pointed out? Is that one of the ones that you're talking about?
Mike, anything more, Sandiger, that you want to add?
I believe it's the picture that Victoria took. I'm not seeing it, but also the DNR has jurisdiction below the ordinary high water level. So they would also have had a say in basically stabling that shoreline better. But they just provided guidance to the landowner and said it was acceptable as is. Looking at the shoreline component is an item I have on my list for our larger rule revision in 2026.
Okay, I think we might, it might be a good idea to also schedule a meeting with DNR. Our area people, I think we've got one for Chisago and one for Forest Lake area, right? If we could get together with those folks and come up with a way that we can work together to achieve sustainability on cleaning up these lakes. I mean, if we're going to allow this kind of thing to keep happening, what's the point? What's the point?
Is that the shoreline right there?
Yeah,
And that's, they put sod right up to this, it's done recently, right?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen is he's gonna put a bunch of trucks in there and dump sand and put a beach in there.
Mhm.
Cause I saw the sand trucks go in today, 2 of them.
Okay.
I was
In that
wondering where all the
case,
sand was going, huh?
My
in that
guess-
case, if sand was brought in, it could be a DNR violation then. But our staff will have to look at it, and then
I
as
don't know,
we-
that's my assumption that I saw those sand trucks going by and.
I think it's a fair assumption, but we have not, I have not looked at it in person.
I mean, that thing's not gonna last through next spring, it's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Shoreline.
Well, anyway, our concern is the lake and the cleanups that we've done, and so why don't we plan on meeting with the DNR sometime next year and have a good conversation about working together to stop this kind of thing from happening? What do we have to do to work together
Yep.
to achieve
We had met with Dan Scollin about this property in particular, but I think you're right where we need to meet with the DNR folks and see if there's a productive way forward.
Good, thank you.
Mike, do you know if the house has been sold or is it, it's not a spec home, he usually builds to just to design. So you should talk to the owner.
We do not review that information, but we certainly could check who the owner is and have a conversation with them.
Yeah, the big problem we have is most owners don't know what's going on, and that's a problem we have everywhere, so. It's a long-term program we have to work on, but.
But they
Yeah.
may hold a vision of it though too, and then this, in terms of what this would look like and, but without the full understanding of its impact. And that's where trying to get in on the front end has been so challenging to help new property owners understand what the rules and the tools are.
Well, it's just like the pizza place on Willow Point. So that shouldn't have happened either, but there it is. A naked shoreline that used to be covered in natural plants. Okay,
Madam
let's move
Chair?
on. Yes,
Just a brief clarification, the district's rules do not apply to shoreline work. The district does not regulate shoreline work. It could do so, but when it adopted its rules in 2009, it chose not to do so. So you could exercise regulatory authority and require permits for shoreline work if you chose by making that regulatory choice.
yeah, we were toddlers back then. We hardly had any staff, so now we're grown-ups and we need to work with the DNR instead of butting heads with them on achieving what we all are supposed to want, and that's clean water in Minnesota. So that's my point, is that it's time now to sit down and figure out how we can do that. There are some districts that I know of that do work or had worked with the DNR and have memorandums of understanding where they take over that responsibility. And so that's what I'm talking about. Something along that line.
Madam Chair,
Yeah,
just there's no need for the DNR to approve what the district does. The district on its own can decide to put rules into place and regulate on its own. I'm not intimately close with the DNR's program, and perhaps Mike can speak more closely, but my sense is that the DNR leaves this kind of work to its rules and its general permits, and is not going to make this a big priority, residential shoreline work. So it really falls to the local governments, the district and the cities, to regulate.
well, until they start doing things like they did on the pizza pub or whatever its full name is, you know, that was done with a DNR permit that we had nothing to do with. Not consulted, nothing to do with. So that's what I'm talking about, but we don't have to get into this right now. I think the idea, the concept is that we sit down and meet with them and let's see what we can do to take over that responsibility that the DNR now has in our boundaries. Okay, then we have consistency in how the shorelines are treated. That's my point. Okay, so let's move on. Mike, anything else on your area?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. Just noting under the interagency communication that I was, the Sand County Foundation organizes this Midwest Watershed Leadership Conference around the Midwest once a year. I've attended a couple of them over the last decade or more, and one organizer that's run by the with some of the staff in the Wisconsin Sand County Foundation. Anyway, they've reached out about the diagnostic monitoring work that we've done and wondering if I could present to that organization. I grew
Mhm.
this February, so I'm planning to
Yeah.
attend that.
I don't have a problem with it.
No, I think it's good.
Mhm. Okay, Manager Baki, you on
Yeah.
board?
President Anderson, thank you for recognizing me. Mike, I was looking at the slide with the logos of the different interagency partners, and the Bone Lake Association logo is missing. Can I send that to Tori and make sure that that's included in your files so we can have that listed in the future?
Send it to Mike Sandiger.
Manager,
Mike Sandiger, all
Yep.
right.
absolutely, Manager Baki. The presentation, when we give it, I just did a quick exercise I took 5 minutes to find every logo I could think of and put it on there just to demonstrate the number of partners we work with, but we absolutely can fix that.
Yeah, I think you'll like our logo. It's a really first class. My wife was the one who created
Oh.
it.
Well, now I feel extra bad.
So I guess you want a royalty for it, huh?
We all like our logos, don't we?
Conflict of interest. No, it's a conflict of interest. No.
Oh, very good. Okay, moving on. Anything else, Mike?
No Christmas morning for Mike Sandiger, I guess, but. No, that is all. Thank you.
I just have to say, this was, again, one of the most packed administrator reports that, maybe the second one this year that was that impactful. You know, it had something very newsworthy on every single area. That's why I sometimes think that we're not doing it justice by having it all packed in there. But maybe call attention online somehow with, be sure to read the administrator report because it's got so much information in it.
Well, Madam President, just one more thing, of course, Manager Baki would be very pleased, but between now and the next board meeting, we should be closing on that Bone Lake
Oh,
South
yeah.
property.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, after almost 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
Early December, it's,
December 9th.
yeah. Mhm. Yeah, very good. Okay, next is EOR.
Madam President and managers, in addition to what we've already talked about, we also are assisting with the grant, flood resiliency grants, reviewing those and providing our input on those applications, completing the Forest Lake model as we talked about, working on the Heath Avenue Iron Enhanced Sand filter plans. We also want to inform you all that Kyle Crawford, who's worked a lot as a design engineer at the district, has decided to become a full-time stay-at-home dad. So he is no longer with us as of right now, but we do have a new hire engineer, Eric Migao, whoever is attending the watershed conference will get to meet and interface with, and you also get to meet him a little bit more when he comes to a future meeting. But he's a senior water resources engineer I worked with at Wank and has been my mentor since I started. So we're really lucky to have him, and he'll be dedicated to taking over Cecilia's role of oversight of the H&H model, which he has extensive experience with, and then also helping with the design work as Kyle has transitioned.
Wonderful.
Good.
There's a great picture of him on the cover of one of the first pages on the conference booklet. Well, you know, he's retiring and
Yeah.
40 years in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. I just wanted to make a comment here. You're working on the floodplain grants, you said. One of the things that I think we have not been doing a good job of is tracking time on the projects, and all those hours can be used, you know, as the 10% that we owe. So we don't have to dip into the levy if we have in kind. So we just need to really do a better job of that.
Sure.
And everything is covered. You know, overhead board meetings where we're discussing it, all of that, and certainly staff. And so that just helps offset the money, of course, that goes to salaries and their pays. Okay, thank you. Let's see, next, Smith Partners. Chuck, I'm gonna ask you to talk about that issue with the governance manual. Okay, that I was going to I talked to the board about before. We were working on some wording that would make it possible for two people to hold one position. Remember, we ran into that at our business meeting in January.
Yeah.
And so we had some language drawn up, and Chuck did it, of course. And so it doesn't seem to be much different, but Chuck, I'll let you talk to them about it. And then did we get that wording out to the board before this meeting? No? Okay. So we'll send it out as soon as the meeting is over, so you can see it for yourselves what we're talking about. It's not much of a difference, but I'm kind of wondering now if we even need to do it. So Chuck, could you just give them a brief overview of what you and I talked about?
Yes,
afternoon.
Madam Chair, managers, President Anderson asked that I draft a bylaws amendment that would allow a manager to hold more than one office. The board has 5 offices: president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and also assistant treasurer. And there have been occasions, I guess, where there has been a question of a manager available to fill each office. In some cases, from a manager stepping down, and with 4 managers, 5 offices can't be filled. And in other cases where there wasn't a manager without an office who wished to assume an open office. So the constraint on that is that the state statute, the watershed law, states that president, treasurer, secretary each need to be offices held by different managers. So one manager could not hold 2 of those offices. There are other combinations that don't make sense, such as president also being vice president, treasurer also being assistant treasurer. So there are still some combinations where one manager could hold both offices, president and assistant treasurer, secretary and assistant treasurer, vice president and secretary, vice president and treasurer. There is, it's not an open field, but there may be some flexibility by allowing for that. Presently, the bylaws say that a manager may only hold 1 office. This would just loosen it up a bit. So that's where it stands. By virtue of the statute's limitation, it just doesn't create as many possibilities as it otherwise would, but it may be useful in some cases. And so basically, the bylaws can be revised under Robert's rules. Notice of the proposed change is given to all the managers, and that would be the purpose of this moment. And then it would be on the December meeting agenda. There's no need for public. It's not a public hearing. It's just notice to managers, and the language would be sent out to you directly, and then it would come up at the December meeting.
Yes. So it doesn't hurt to have it apparently, but there is that other pro tem. Did you talk about that at all? Or you can appoint someone for a shorter period of time?
Yeah, well, I didn't mention that just now. Our bylaws do reflect parliamentary custom, where if there's a need for an officer to perform a function and that officer isn't present, the board can name another manager as an officer pro tem. And our bylaws recognize that. So that's also that's a way that this board has filled a gap for a certain period of time. Pro tem is really intended to be something of very short duration. So we've stretched that a bit in a couple of cases and could do so again, but this amendment to the bylaws would make that less necessary.
So it provides flexibility, and why don't we just send it out to, you can read it. We've gotten the background, this happened in January of this year, where we didn't have anyone that spoke up to be the treasurer. And so, at that time, the wording, well, it still is the wording, was that, only one person per job. And that's what he was just explaining, is that, there are some ways that, like the vice president doesn't have that, restriction.
Sure.
And the alternate treasurer and the alternate, secretary don't have those restrictions, so there are ways that you can, have somebody else do it. So in that way, it might be valuable, but, with or without it, we can still work, but let's get that out to you. And then you can read it and remember this conversation, and then in December, we can take action however you would like, okay? Thank you, Chuck, it helped. Okay, report of treasurer is next.
Okay, this month we had, income of $437,897.88. About 95% of that amount was from one grant for the Conservation Legacy Bone Lake grant that we received. Our total expenses for the month are $363,596.47. And our transfer for this month will be $338,000. So I asked the board to approve the treasurer's report and also approve paying the expenses as I just grabbed. And the transfer amount.
I will make the motion to accept the treasurer's report and to authorize the transfer of the funds necessary to pay the bills as recorded. And that's it. Who's gonna second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Manager Baki. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Manager Schmaltz,
Aye.
Manager Baki,
Aye.
Manager Shopmiller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye, unanimous, thank you. You may pay the bills. Report of officers and managers, start with you. Manager Shopmiller. I'm gonna say it differently.
I don't have a report. I was hoping to have a report. I was gonna have a report
What?
from the Citizen Advisory Committee
Oh, okay.
that I attended, but I got kicked out. No, so,
Oops,
I was excited about being able to come here with something. I got nothing.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
nothing for us. Steve?
The only thing I want to mention is that the Forest Lake Association has a new president.
Mhm.
Chris Perucci, was serving for the past year, but he's working full-time and he felt he was more reacting than planning and so forth. So Ken Wood is gonna take over. Ken worked for IBM for many, many years and just retired.
Mhm.
So he's been with the board for almost 4 or 5 years. So he's gonna be a good asset. So he's been running our meetings the last few years.
Oh,
We've had
good.
good meetings. So I just want everybody to be aware of that, and I think it's gonna help all of us. So
Good, wonderful.
thank you.
Manager Baki?
Nothing to report, Madam President.
Thank you. I brought up my issues throughout the meeting, so I have nothing left. Thank God. One thing that I did want to say, it's not really a manager report, but it's a concern that I've always had with our treasury reports, and that is to make sure that our books are balanced at the end of the year. I think I did talk to you slightly about that, but
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, it's to make sure that our budget, we might have had something allocated for a budget line item and we didn't spend it there. that should all be put into the general fund. And so that we have balanced, budget line items, and then that gives us more cash, of course, in the place where we need it, and that's our general fund. Especially during these last 2 months of the year, so. I just wanted to, reemphasize that, and it's a general accounting thing. It's not anything new, for anyone in business or in government, so we just haven't, had an opportunity to do that in the past. But now we got the guy to do it. So, I would just like to make that statement, that's all. Thank you. And I don't think there's anything else. Let me get my glasses on. I'm sorry?
Summary and approval of board direction.
See, I was just putting my glasses on. My little minion here. Thanks, Troy. Okay. Summary and approval of board direction.
Madam Chair, managers, well, I have several things where managers have asked for the staff work plan to be to take account of. Real briefly, what I have is Manager Baki asked for a bit more detail regarding what each position does on a regular basis. Manager Schottmuller asked for information about who is accountable for particular work items, the result. Manager Anderson asked about CARP work in Comfort and Little Comfort Lake. There's a reference to something I didn't quite get about the lake adjacent to East Comfort Drive. And
That's a
then,
pond. That was a pond, that was a stormwater pond that was starred in a flat, was some kind of a layout around Comfort, and I hadn't heard about that, so I wanted more detail on that.
okay. And then for the work plan to reference the work on the property, the potential gift property that includes part of Shallow Pond. And then regarding the 5-year program, President Anderson asked Mr. Kinney and Dr. Wilkinson to reach out to Washington County regarding partnering on Shields Lake and on, I believe, the Shallow Pond wetlands area. And then for Mr. Kinney to check back regarding the property that, is that the Ducharme property, President Anderson, you were referring to?
No,
The farmer's property?
Stanky.
yeah, the Stanky property,
Stanky,
Stenke, yeah.
yes. Which is, yeah, was that was a part of Ducharme formerly? Or am I?
No.
No,
No, he's the farmer next door, but
Okay.
it's along the Sunrise River. And it would be very close to the 61 project of ours.
yes, okay, the Stanky property.
Yeah, along the Sunrise.
And
See,
then,
we're building green here.
then staff will send out the proposed bylaws revision to the managers.
Yes. Thank you. Chuck, can you do that, please? I don't think that, have you seen that? Revision language? Okay, can you send that out to the managers, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
I believe, or I'll send it to Tori if I'm not sure I have every manager's email.
Okay,
You can send it to me.
yeah,
Okay,
is that it?
that's it, yes.
Okay. All right. The next thing, we have to all sing in honor of Dave's choral performance tonight. Or Doug, excuse me, Doug. Oh my God. I told him we would. Is there a motion? to adjourn?
That's enough.
So moved.
All right, it's been. We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Right, Manager
Yeah.
Schmaltz,
That would have been fun.
Manager
Although-
Foxy,
Aye.
Manager Shopmuller,
Aye.
President Anderson.
Aye. We are adjourned. Good meeting.
Have a
everyone.
wonderful
Yeah,
Thanksgiving,
too.
everyone.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not fast.